Hello dear viewer, I have games to share with you. This is a haiku. Another week of being locked inside and this pandemic is starting to get to me. Last night my Pixel 3 quit working and today the repair shop tells me that the motherboard in it is toast, so now I'm shopping around on eBay looking for a replacement. Because I miss my phone, here's the only mobile game I spend any time on, Brutal.io. You are a thing with a detachable flail, and when you destroy your enemy, you eat their gruesome guts. This game is pure aggro, and I love it. I'm good at this game, so I make it a point to do a little spin dance when I kill other players. This makes playing more difficult and also taunts the other players into coming back into my flail zone. This game puts me in a bad mood, but I keep going back. I know that this sounds like it doesn't make sense, but give it a shot and you'll see what I mean. Next up is Headsnatchers. This was one of those games on Steam that was 100% off for a few days. It's a platforming game that has a multiplayer focus, but I couldn't get into a working online game. The matches kept dropping and I'm not sure what the problem was. I did find a single player mode and it was fine, but I spent less than 20 minutes with this before uninstalling. It's too bad. I bet the multiplayer is a lot of fun if you can get into a working game. This next game has always had a free demo release and I've been playing it for over a decade. Kyodai Mahjong 2006. This is one of those Mahjong tile solitaire games, but there's more. Specifically, there's Rivers, which is one of my favorite solitaire games. Your goal in Rivers is to remove every tile by pairing it with another tile while only making 2 turns. I used to play this game for hours, and from playing this game with friends, I've learned that none of us call Mahjong tiles the same things at all, so here's a quick guide. WM, 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines, V thingy, bird on head, not to be confused with bird, R on head, big jumble, little jumble, 8 thing. It looks kind of like a sideways 8. You know what? You're probably disagreeing with me about these names, and that's fine. Why don't you tell me what they're called in the comments? I'm done teaching you how to play this. Next game! Between Two Castles, another temporarily free game on Steam, but this one is based on a tabletop game. I love tabletop games and I love Sim Tower, and this feels a little bit like both of them. I wasn't good at this, but I did have a good time. Your goal is to build a tower with other players and earn as many points as possible. Different card types play off of each other based on the card symbols and locations. There is one trick though. You're building 2 towers at the same time and your score is the tower you do the worst on, so there's an interesting balance to it. I wasn't good at this, but I respect it. These are clever mechanics for a tile placement game. I do have a few gripes though. For example, it was hard to read the cards from time to time. It was never clear when I could or could not place cards below ground or on top of other cards, and finally, I just didn't understand the scoring well enough. When I place a tile, would it only score points then, or could it score points in later rounds? I could read the guide to figure out that last one, but this game needs a little more polish. Despite this, it's a fantastic game, and if this style of play is something you enjoy, then you, my friend, should jump in on this one. And now, Medieval Mercs, another 100% off game. I caught a glimpse at one of the screenshots that showed a character sheet with items and stats, and that was enough to get me to try it. Upon starting the game, I could tell it was some sort of 2-dimensional side-scrolling hack and slash, but I couldn't figure out the controls. After having little luck finding a help menu in the game, I turned to an internet search and one of the results was a Jim Sterling video. I immediately uninstalled this title. Before we talk about the last game, here's a Pixelmon update. I broke 1 million Pokemon dollars on the server. I've always got a side hustle going to make a little extra money, like selling cheap PCs that I've looted to new players. There's even one rich player who's been asking if I'd sell the land I own that's next to his city. I used that land for graffiti to advertise Pirate Town, and I told him I wasn't interested in selling it, but I have been thinking about it. I'm debating grabbing another nearby piece of land and then selling him this chunk. I am torn about this idea though. First, he said it was ugly. It's just a flat grassy area that I was planning to build on later, but it isn't a desert biome. I get that it doesn't fit in and I agreed to cover it in sand until I do build something on it, but then he said that he didn't like how Pirate Town looks and I've been irritated ever since. On the other hand, he's one of my better customers, so I don't want to rock the boat too much. What would you do? More graffiti? Sell the land? Ignore him and just keep on doing my thing? Let me know. I'm curious. Now the game that I spent the most time playing this last week, which is One Way Heroics. This was my first time playing this on the PC, but not my first time playing the game. As a video game collector, I'm fascinated by the limited release games that have been catching on lately. The first company that I'm aware of that got big doing this is Limited Run. They find small indie games that are download-only titles, and they do a small physical release. You're limited to buying 2 copies per household, and they promise to never reprint the game. And this was how I first played One Way Heroics. A while back, I did run low on cash and sell my 2 copies to a local game store for store credit, but I also got the PC version of the game as part of a humble bundle, which I just played for the first time last week. I love this game, and my only complaint I have is that if the game is in full screen mode and you accidentally bump the Windows key or try to open another program, it crashes the game. I was nearing the end of a great run when I crashed it once. The game can be played in windowed mode to avoid this, but it's tiny. Maybe there's a way I can blow it up and play it in windowed mode. I'm going to look into this, but I should probably tell you about this game already. It's a roguelike, and the screen is always pushing you to move to the east. When you start your first game, you have 2 classes to pick from, and your goal is to get moving and survive for as long as possible. You'll be fighting with inventory management along the way, and you will die, but when you die, you can transfer some of your items into a dimensional vault to pass them along to your next character. During later playthroughs, you can reuse the last map or generate a new one. I love generated games like this. I want to know how deep you can dive. After each playthrough, you can turn in points to unlock new classes and abilities, or you can use them to expand the dimensional vault. One thing that keeps this item passing in check is that weapons have a durability stat. After a while, they will break. There are ways to repair them before they break, but finding these items is not reliable. I suppose nothing in this game is reliable though, and that's a good thing. Every new character builds on the last, and there are loads of different ways to play. For being a game where you just move to the right and fight unending enemies, the depth here is fantastic. I'm happy that I got to play this wonderful game again. And that, my friend, is the week in gaming in the Murdoch home, deep in the heart of Texas. There were a couple of duds, but those duds were free, so no hard feelings. We had a couple of free game classics with Brutal.io and the Mahjong game. Pixelmon is always near and dear to my heart, and let's not forget the flawed but fun virtual version of a tabletop game, and of course the amazing roguelike that's available on modern consoles as well as PC. Thank you for watching and subscribing. I hope that your time spent during the pandemic is as rewarding as it has been for me. If you have any free PC game recommendations or disagree with my Mahjong tile names, let's chat in the comments. Murdoch out!